What's good, my dear language learning master? And welcome to episode number 20 of the Language Input Podcast, in which, as you know, I'm gonna challenge those, misconceptions, questions, beliefs around the language learning master, around the language learning process, that in my eyes are hurting so many people around the world. Because, as I'm always saying, language learning is fun. It's not the hard process of memorizing things or consciously studying grammar rules, etc. Fortunately, right? And well, as usual, before getting started with today's topic, I want to remind you that you can leave your comments down below if you're listening to this on YouTube or any other platform where you can leave your comments or messages. Because I'm really interested in getting to know your opinion on today's topic, and as in any other topic. And also, if you have any question around the language learning process, feel free to ask me, because I'll be more than happy to help you out, and you'll be giving me ideas for future episodes. So thank you in advance for that. And with that being said, let's get into today's topic. And in today's topic, I'm going to talk about my language learning routine, what type of resources I use to keep working on my languages on a daily basis, all right? And well, as you can expect, there's not even a single second of, memorizing words, grammar study, and so on. But you already expected that, right? And because I'm at different levels in the different languages that I speak or that I'm learning, I think it's going to be useful when it comes to giving you ideas, regardless of the point you're at in the specific language you want to learn and you want to improve. All right, and I'll go one at a time. All right, but yeah, let's go. So, well, first of all, with English, because I can perfectly communicate, I have no issue whatsoever with that. I don't really target anything when it comes to English. Like as you'll listen to in the other languages, I try to listen to those languages for at least 20 minutes a day. So I try to keep a certain routine when it comes to getting exposed to the language every single day. But with English, I don't really target that. Because like I said, I can perfectly communicate, so I have no issue with that. And also because it's English, because it's the most dominant language in the world. I'm still gonna get exposed to the language by watching the NBA, which I love. Like I'm always saying, if I come across a podcast that I'm interested in, chances are it's gonna be available in English, right? Or series and so on. So I know I'm gonna continue to get exposed to English, and because I have no problem communicating, I don't really target it. But like I said, I keep getting exposed to it. All right. Then when it comes to, I'm not really gonna go one at a time, but when it comes to Portuguese and Italian, because of their similarities with Spanish, it's been a while since. It's been a long time since I've been able to understand pretty much anything in that language. I mean, when it comes to Portuguese, I'm talking Brazilian Portuguese, all right, which is most of the resources available out there, all right. But European Portuguese is still a bit tough at times. But anyway, in those two languages, again, I can also perfectly communicate in those two languages, but still a lot of room for improvement, right? So nowhere near close my English, all right. But like I said, I can perfectly communicate. But as I'm talking about in every single episode, or most of them, we learn a language by listening and reading. So every single thing I'm going to talk about in this episode is about the input part of the language, all right. In some of the languages that I'm practicing or that I want to improve, I do practice them, or I do talk, with friends or language exchange events and so on. But I'm just going to talk about the things or the resources that I'm using to keep getting exposed to the language, to keep getting comprehensible input, all right? Because that's the key to the entire process. Again, as usual, All right. So what I'm doing in Portuguese and Italian is during the week from Monday to Friday. I'm really into podcasts recently because I realized, like I talked about it in one episode, that if you're listening to this on YouTube, you can access it up here, okay? And I talked about the fact that in the past I didn't think podcasts were a useful resource when it comes to learning language because of the lack of images to help you understand the message. But I realized that because of that, podcasters, content creators usually try to speak a bit slower and a bit more clear, when they're creating a podcast episode as opposed to a YouTube video, for instance. All right. And that's really helpful, to be honest. And at the same time, depending on the language, of course, because with English, because with Italian and Portuguese, I can understand pretty much anything. I can listen to them while I'm doing other things like cleaning or cooking, or if it was a language that I'm not that comfortable with, or a topic that really needs me to be focused on it, I wouldn't do it while I'm doing a different thing, so I wouldn't multitask with that. All right. But so yeah, I mean, I'll leave the links to all the podcasts and resources that I'm using with every single language in the description box below. All right. But just to give you ideas, I mean, like everything, all I'm listening to, or all the resources that I'm using in order to keep improving, are resources that talk about topics that I'm really interested in. And you're gonna get the memo. Like everything I'm gonna talk about in this episode is about resources that I'm interested in, that don't feel like I'm actually learning a language. All right. So I'm using resources that I'm interested in because I'm interested in the topic. So I'm listening to them because I want to learn about philosophy, board games, basketball, or I don't know, whatever the topic, right? You get the point. And in Portuguese, for instance, like I said, from Monday to Friday, I'm listening to a philosophy podcast, all right? Because the topic is about philosophy. That's the one I'm listening to right now, okay? So when I'm listening to that podcast, I'm not doing another thing at the same time because I really need to be focused, right? But not because of the language, Portuguese, but because of the topic, all right? And they're like, I leave the link to the YouTube channel that I'm using recently, but like this guy has like hour and a half episodes, which he talks about different philosophers and so on. So what I do is I listen to half an hour every day. All right. So that's my routine when it comes to Portuguese from Monday to Friday. And then during the weekend, I'm watching a series on Netflix in Portuguese. So that's 45 minutes on Saturday and 45 minutes on Sunday as well. All right. So that's my exposure to Portuguese on a weekly basis. All right. When it comes to Italian, like pretty much same thing, but from Monday to Friday, I'm also listening to a podcast on philosophy with a slightly different approach, but just you get the point. And then during the weekend, I'm also listening to a different podcast by an Italian girl who I really like, who talks about books in general, but she also talks about feminism, which is, and she's really clever and she explains things really well. And yeah, I think I that's a topic I'm interested in as well, and that's a topic we guys should get to know more, but that's a discussion for a different thing, okay? But just to talk about my routine, right? So again, yeah, during the week, like 20-25 minute episodes, and weekends, same thing, 25-30 minutes, all right? And right now I'm just listening to podcasts in Italian during the weekend because I like a couple of weeks ago, I finished a series I was watching in Italian. So I decided to roll with podcasts, all right? But some point in the near future, I'll start another series. Then, when it comes to French, yeah, pretty much the same thing. Like, I can also communicate in the language. Again, a lot of room for improvement, but I can perfectly communicate. And what I'm doing in French is I'm listening to a podcast during the week, and they're like 25, 30-minute episodes on, personal development, professional development, all right? And during the weekend, I'm watching a series. And the one I'm watching right now is a comedy series, and the episodes are 20, 25 minutes long, okay? So that's what I do from Monday to Sunday when it comes to French, all right? Then, when it comes to Polish, this is a bit different because, it's not a Latin-related language, all right? It's a completely different language. But again, with Polish, I can also communicate in the language. A lot of room for improvement, of course. And my comprehension ability, because of the difference between Polish and the other languages, is lower than that of Portuguese, Italian, and French. But because of that, what I'm doing is from Monday to Sunday, I'm watching a Polish series on YouTube, because on YouTube I can slow down the pace. And I'm just slowing it down to 0.9x or 0.95x, which is just enough to make it slower and easier for me to understand, while keeping it real, while keeping it natural. All right, because if you slow it down even further, it's gonna be a bit weird, because they talk like that. But I've seen that 0.9, 0.95 is pretty good, because it helps me understand way more and still natural. So that's what I'm doing. And obviously, because I'm living in Poland, whenever I go play soccer, or when I go play soccer, most of my friends are Polish, so I have to speak Polish, and and when I go to the supermarket and so on. So I'm kind of surrounded by the language on a daily basis, as opposed to the other ones that I talked about, right? Then the next one is an interesting case, because it's Catalan, and this one's interesting because for a couple of years I'm already able to understand pretty much any resource in Catalan, because of the similarities with Spanish again. But the thing is, I've never used it, and that's the fun thing. But again, what I said, because input is the key to the entire process, I'm not worried about it. I've just not been in the situation yet, but I can feel it in my head that I understand everything, and I haven't witnessed it yet, but I know I can communicate. All right, and what I'm doing is same thing. During the week, I'm listening to a podcast, and this one is on board games, which is a topic that I was really interested in as a kid. And I'm trying to get back to it because, it's really interesting, and I'm working on different ideas to use them for language teaching as well. All right, because whatever sounds fun, I'm up to it. All right, I'm up for it. Sorry, yeah. And then during the weekend, I'm just watching Catalan series on YouTube or Netflix, because there are a few of them. So yeah, basically, 25, 30 minutes during the week, every day, and then 40, 45-minute episodes on Sunday and Saturday. All right, so that's Catalan. Then what else? Russian is the one I'm starting to learn this year. Okay, and I cannot communicate in Russian. All right, so I'm a beginner in that one. So that's when I think I'm going to be able to help you if you're a beginner in your target language, all right? And what I'm doing with Russian is I'm looking for YouTube channels that teach Russian the same way I teach Spanish, like, with stories, TPRS idea, games, and so on, just the fun way and the right way to me. But anyway, that's another topic, like I said. And yeah, again, I'll link to them in the description box below. But the one I'm using the most is Comprehensible Russian by my friend Ina. Okay, and there are a couple more of them that I'm using, so I'll link to them, like I said. But what I do with those is, because I'm just getting started with Russian, I'm not getting exposed to the language that much, because I'll probably get more tired, right? Because, it's not like with Portuguese, Italian, French that I can listen to pretty much anything and any topic that I'm interested in. With this beginning Russian, I kind of have to adjust to the topic, those teachers are talking about. All right, does it make sense? Yeah. But I mean, they're super interesting, so no worries. And what I'm usually doing is just, watching 10, 15-minute videos, every day. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And I've already been able to sort of figure out the alphabet, which, by the way, I'll talk about this in a future episode, but you don't need to memorize anything, even if it's a different alphabet. So that's the good news, all right? And I'll talk about it deeply in a future episode to help you understand what I've done with Russian, which has a different alphabet, all right? So yeah, but as any other thing related to languages, you don't need to memorize it, and you can actually learn a new alphabet just by reading. And yeah, I'll talk about it, no worries. But yeah, all right. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. And again, I'm obviously not concerned about speaking in Russian, because I know I can't yet. But I just continue to get exposed to the language. I just continue to get comprehensible input. I know that's all I need. So that's all we need, and that's all we do when we're learning a native language, right? And it works 100% of the time, all right? As I'm always talking about. But anyway, I'll just go on, all right? So yeah, that's everything I do. And then I want to start German as well right now. And I found a couple of channels, but there's not as much, there's not as many resources when it comes to German. I'm talking about stories and games and those types of channels. When it comes to grammar and so on, you have all the channels you want, but I'm obviously not interested. All right. And yeah, what I'm starting to do with German is same thing as with Russian, because I cannot communicate just looking for channels and watching 10, 15-minute videos every day. All right. And then finally, right now during this pandemic, it's a bit harder, but I used to go to a language meeting event every week. One in Italian. It's just a language event to practice Italian, to talk in Italian. There are different, they're native speakers, non-native, but, just to practice the language and keep listening to it. And then there's another one in French that I used to go as well before the pandemic. But yeah, now it's a bit harder. But still, if you want to, you can still find them online. But anyway, I'm not doing that right now. But that's another thing I usually do in normal circumstances. All right. So yeah, that's pretty much my. I forgot. And then at night, I love reading as well, and I always read at night. I love it. And I don't target any specific language, but I always read in a different language. Not in Spanish. Very rarely do I read in Spanish. Yeah. And right now I'm reading a book in Italian, for instance. But I switch between Italian, English, Portuguese, French. Yeah. I've read a couple of books in Polish, but yeah, I might get into comic books when it comes to Polish, but anyway. So yeah, that's what I'm doing every single day to keep working on my languages. And the good news, like I said at the beginning, is every single thing I'm doing to keep working on them is something interesting. It's something I really enjoy. It's something I'm passionate about, whether it's philosophy, board games, and all the topics that I talked about. All right. So yeah, I hope this helps you understand that you don't need to struggle through the process of memorizing things, constantly studying grammar rules, etc. Because it doesn't help you, and it's so boring. Anyway, so yeah, that's the good news. Like I said, that everything I talked about is stuff I'm really interested in, so I'm having fun. It doesn't feel like learning. I mean, it doesn't feel like studying. I like the word learning, but I hate the one studying, right? So what I'm doing is learning, not studying, all right? Well, actually acquiring, but anyway, that's not the topic. And yeah, so that's the one good news. And like I said, I'll link to all the resources that I'm using right now. Okay. And and the second piece of good news is, I don't really know how many hours I'm spending every day, but it might be around 3 hours, in all of them. But the good news is, in most cases, you don't really need to find the extra time for them even. You can use, like I said, that's why I'm loving podcasts, and that's why I consume them more during the week, like from Monday to Friday, because I can. If it's actually made the process of cleaning a little bit funnier. I mean, it's still not my favorite activity in the world, but I don't mind it right now, because I know that I'm just gonna be sweeping the floor or whatever it is. I'm listening to an interesting podcast at the same time, and I keep working on my language. All right, so yeah, and then when I'm cooking, same thing. So for the most part, you don't even really need to find the extra time in order to continue with your language learning journey, which is excellent news in my eyes, because one of the more frequent excuses is that I just don't have the time, right? And I mean, right now we're a lot of us are staying home, all right? So you do have more time, all right? But even if you're going to work, I'm sure during commute, or the time you spend in going back and forth, I'm sure you can, if you're driving, you can listen to a podcast. If you're going by bus or by train, same thing. And you can even watch videos if you're not the one driving, okay? Yeah. So it's all about a little bit of creativity as well, okay? Because, yeah. But anyway, the most important thing is the fact that every single resource is a resource that I'm loving and that I'm super interested in, okay? Which makes all the difference in the world, I'm telling you. Yeah. Because it doesn't feel like studying, because it's not. So, but anyway, yeah. So, yeah, to wrap things up here, thank you, as usual, for listening to this episode. Thank you for coming this far in this episode. And I hope I help you understand, like I said, that the language learning process is fun and it works if you do it the right way, okay? And I hope I inspire you and I gave you ideas to keep working on your languages, And yeah, that's it for today. So thank you, my dear language learning master. I wish you a good day wherever you might be, and I'll see you I'll see you in the next one, or I'll hear you in the next one, or you'll hear me in the next one. Anyway, bye-bye. Have a good day.